Hi there, I'm Miriam, and welcome to Miriam's Manor. If you are wondering who this is next to me, this is Mrchristmasvillage. You can find him on TikTok and Instagram. So I'll also put his information and spell it out on this screen below. But you guys, we have been working on a project that has finally been completed. And when did we start this?
Oh, I don't know, 1943?
We started it a long time ago.
It's been months. I think maybe like 4 months, maybe not more.
Was it like February?
When we first met and started talking about it? Maybe.
It was a long time ago. So it's been a really long time. We had to work on it when our schedules would allow us to meet up and actually get it done. But the day has finally arrived. We are finally here to present to you the completed project, and it looks amazing. So what was your inspiration for this build?
Oh, you mean our inspiration? Look, I came to you with a bridge. And together we both thought up everything for this, mostly Miriam. I just wanted a river.
Yes.
Do you remember that? I just wanted a river for the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And then you came up with an idea of the waterfalls with the rock wall.
Yes.
And then I was like, oh, maybe instead of the river coming off the end, could it end in a lake? And then you were like, oh, no, that'd be perfect. And then when I suggested the lake, you were like, well, what if we put a raised platform behind the lake?
Yes.
And then you came up with that idea of some outdoor seating and some restaurants up there.
So they could have a lakefront view while they're dining. What's better than that, right?
So this was a truly collaborative effort, ideas bouncing back and forth. More talking than building a lot of times.
Yes, that's probably another reason why it took months, because when you get two creative people in the same place that love the same things, it is madness.
Yes.
We talked about Limax pieces probably for an hour sometimes. Not probably, for sure for an hour sometimes before we would even get started on the build. So
we talked for about an hour and 15 minutes just before we started recording right now.
Very true. That is very true. We were trying to shoot this intro for over an hour now. So
let's do it.
Here we are. So the inspiration for this build was this Department 56 bridge that you can see in the background that we will give you some close-ups of. But it is gorgeous. I love the way the entire build turned out. One of the things that I love so much is the brown cobblestone pathway that we were able to match in color, which is the same that's on the actual bridge itself. And mixing that with still those gray tones for the rock formations and everything, it just looks so good. So let's go ahead and bring you guys in for a closer look. Step 1, we are going to glue together the 2 pieces of styrofoam that we are using to create this 2-tier mountain for the waterfall. We are going to set it in place where we actually want it on the base. Step 2, it is time to draw out the pattern of the lake as well as the land patches that we will need for the bridge to sit on. Step 3, cut out the shape of the river and the lake. We are using a tool from Hotwire Foam Factory called the Freehand Router in order to cut this out. The reason I love this tool is this blade is bendable, so in the narrow spaces you can see how narrow we have the blade. In a minute we're going to widen it to do the rest of the lake, which saves time. Also, you can see we took this outside to make sure that we cut this styrofoam outside for safety. This is the safest place to cut styrofoam. However, if you are staying indoors, make sure to do it next to an open window with a fan with a proper respirator mask. Step 4, waterproof the stream and the pond. So we are doing this by placing a layer of aluminum foil down and then placing the plaster on top of that. Now I do recommend gluing down the aluminum foil, especially if you are working on this solo. But since we had 4 hands instead of 2, I was able to hold down the foil while the plaster was being applied on top. So while you are plastering, if you're using strips, it is really simple to work with. You can just begin by completely wetting the plaster strip, placing it evenly on the surface, and then begin to smooth the holes in the gauze with your fingertips. You want to wet your fingers as needed to help close any of the holes that you may have in the gauze. Step 5. Secure the elevated restaurant area to the base of the platform. So we cut out pieces of styrofoam to fit around the lake for the lakefront dining. To make the rock formations on the sides of this that you see, we glued on scrap pieces of styrofoam with Elmer's glue and then used the same plaster strips on the sides to cover up the individual styrofoam pieces to give it a natural rock formation look. We are adding several clamps to this to hold everything in place while it all sets and dries. Step 6. Carve the same cobblestone pattern from the bridge onto the ramp that we made for the bridge as well as the walkways. So to carve this pattern, I am using my 3-inch hot knife from Hotwire Foam Factory. The reason I like using my hot knife instead of the engraver tool for this job is because the hot knife has a fine point on it, which allows me to create smaller lines between each stone. So for those of you interested in purchasing tools from Hotwire Foam Factory, I'll put my rep's information at the bottom of the screen. Her name is Pat. She is very knowledgeable on the tools, how they work. She has been using them herself for decades, and she can help put a package together for you. Step 7, paint. To begin, we are starting off with a black wash. Now, for those of you who have been following me for a while, you already know this purpose, but for those of you who are new to my channel, the reason that I always start with the black wash is because you want to cover every white crack and crevice in the styrofoam, especially where we carved the cobblestone pattern. If you don't start with the black wash, once you are done painting your piece, you will see a bunch of white dots in your finished paint job. So in order to avoid that, we start off with the black wash first. Now I am using a 70-30 ratio, 70% paint and 30% water, mixing it up well, and then I'm just going to begin to paint this on. Step 7 continued. We are still painting, but now we are going to add our first layer of gray paint to all of the rock surfaces. Now the first layer of gray that we add is going to be the darkest layer, and then as we add the other 2 to 3 layers, we are going to get lighter and lighter in color. To apply the paint, we are wetting only the tips of our brushes with a small amount of paint and gently sweeping over the surfaces of the rocks. We will also go between the rock formations since they are so deep in this particular build. Keep in mind, you will get better coverage covering more and more of the black paint as you keep applying each layer of gray paint. By the time you are finished, the only black that should appear should look like shadowy areas in the cracks and crevices of the rocks. To paint the ground surface, we are adding even less paint to our brushes and gently dabbing the surface around the lake area. Step 7, painting layer still continued. So we went ahead and added the 2 additional layers of lighter gray paint the exact same way you saw us add the first layer of gray paint. And now we are adding snow detail to the rocks. So we are using thin paint brushes with white paint and adding small lines to the edges of the rocks. Now that all of our gray paint is applied and dry, we are moving on to step 8, which is technically still painting, but it is different because we are painting the cobblestone pathways that we created. Now, this is the tricky part because we have to add different shades of browns, reddish browns, and golds in order to match the bridge, which was the inspiration for this entire project. So, keeping in line with the same painting principle, we are adding our darkest layers of brown first, then gradually getting lighter and lighter with each layer. We are using smaller brushes to do this and dabbing it the same way we dabbed around the lake, adding very little paint to the brush and just lightly dabbing the surface of the cobblestone pathway. After adding several layers of browns and reddish browns and golds, the paint job is finally done. I feel like we did an awesome job of matching the color to this bridge. It looks seamless. So now we can move on to step 9. Step 9, create the waterfall. I am using a product called Water Effects from Woodland Scenics for this. You can find this product on Amazon. I do recommend applying this on a glass surface for easy removal. So I am making 3 different waterfalls to go into 3 different areas on the mountain. And once I get the waterfalls laid out to the desired length and width that I am looking for, I will make lines with my X-Acto knife in the waterfall to look like rushing water. Now, normally I would use 3 toothpicks for this, but we do not have any here. So I am using what I have, and you can do the same at home. Just use any pointy object that you have laying around for this part. Also, be sure to make your waterfall 1 inch wider and longer than what you measured to allow for any shrinkage while this dries. It is easier to cut excess away than it is to add more. Step 10, it is time to add the ground cover. Now, we have already added the ground cover around the lake, and now it is time for us to add the grass, and both are applied the exact same way. So we are pouring out some Elmer's glue, using our brushes to spread that glue around, and then we're going to sprinkle on the grass ground cover. Now, once we're done sprinkling it on in the areas that we've applied it on, we'll flip this thing up vertical to tap off any excess on top of the newspaper that we have underneath this. Now you are going to repeat this process as needed. So when you go to add additional layers of grass ground cover, instead of using the Elmer's glue again, what you're going to do is use a product called Scenic Cement that is also from Woodland Scenics. You spray the top of the grass, add another layer, and then tap off the excess. And then once it is all set to your liking, then you will seal the entire thing with Scenic Cement one last time to make sure that your ground cover will last for years to come. Step 11, paint the lake. We painted the lake a deeper aqua green color in the center to represent the deep water, and then gradually faded the color out lighter and lighter towards the edges and through the stream. Once the paint was dry, we sealed the paint with Rust-Oleum top coat. Step 12, pour the resin for the lake. So we are pouring the lake and using a product called Realistic Resin Water from Hobby Lobby. We used about 3 bottles for this size of lake. So when you pour your resin, be sure not to shake the bottle when you pour because you will end up with a lot of bubbles in your finished product. Make sure that you examine your water right after you pour it. If you see any bubbles at all, you can pop them with a flame, and I usually keep a long lighter handy with me before I actually pour. Also, you can only pour 1/8 of an inch at a time to make sure it properly cures, and you want to let this sit on a level surface for about 24 hours. Step 13, attach the waterfalls. So I am using the same product to attach the waterfalls that I made them with. So I am putting a small line on the edge and just holding the waterfall in place for about 60 seconds to attach it, and I do the same on the top and the bottom. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today while we showed you the tutorial on how to put this build together. If you guys have any questions, please leave me a line in the comment section. I will get back with you. If you have any questions for Mr. Christmas Village, tell the people how to find you.
Mr. Christmas Village on TikTok and Instagram. It's all one word, and Mr. is M-R, not spelled out M-I-S-T-E-R. So Mr. Christmas Village everywhere.
Sweet. So if you guys haven't done so already, please give us a big thumbs up for this video. Check out and subscribe. Oh, how do they subscribe?
Oh, it's a
TikTok?
Follow button on TikTok. It's not subscribe.
Okay, you guys know I'm not good with technology, so I don't know the proper terminology for all these apps and what are they called? The social media platforms.
I think your AARP card fell down somewhere. She's learning.
Oh my god. Oh, that's terrible. I actually have it.
We do this to keep going.
We're gonna keep going, I guess.
Put the jab in there, it's gotta be in there.
Oh my god.
Okay, cool, I wanna talk.
Okay. Now I'm all hot. Okay. What is it again? The follow button?
Follow button. Look, I just want to thank Miriam for teaching me so much. I could never have built something like this without her tutelage. That's a word. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's been incredible, and I admire her so much. I've been watching her ever since she started her channel, so the chance to work with her has been absolutely incredible.
Yeah, so if you want to follow Mr. Christmas Village, click the follow button on TikTok and Instagram and check out his content. He puts together a lot of funny, creative content. If you can't already tell, he's always got jokes. So we are always laughing and cracking up together. But give us a big thumbs up for this video. comment us if you have any questions. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And you guys take care. God bless you, and we will see you soon.